Hello, everyone. This is Raise Your Voice as part of the Fans First Sports Network. I am your host, Brett Rutherford, joined as always by my good friend and co host, Darby Robinson. We are live on youtube.com/ at Raise Your Voice and also available wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching along on YouTube, make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications so you can join us whenever we go live. And if you like to listen to as a podcast, you can still head over, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and whenever you have the chance, hop on in. We can have some fun in the comment section on YouTube. And now that we're officially in off-season mode, Darby, I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Uh, the biggest piece of news that we need to cover today is the press conference, the introductory press conference of the Rays' new ownership group led by Jacksonville real estate mogul Patrick Zalupski. It happened earlier this week, and my personal first take on it, and we're going to dive into this, is that this press conference was a nothing burger. I really wasn't expecting much. It was good
Mhm.
to hear these guys come out and talk. Obviously, this is something you have to do when you buy a baseball team. It's something you should do. But in my original first right up instant reaction, if we did an instant reaction pod, which this press conference did not warrant an instant reaction pod, it would have been like, yep, that's what I was expecting them to say. Before we dive into some of the details from the press conference, what was your initial reaction to the three new leaders of the Rays organization?
Uh, yeah, this would be a very difficult one to create one of those YouTube what stills and be like, oh, it was fine. It was fine. I think it was I think they stuck the landing for what these initial press conferences should be. Wasn't a mess. Didn't come out I think the biggest thing is you want to avoid it making news for the wrong reasons, right? And I think they did
Right.
that. I think they came off. I will say this: I think it came off pretty well for these three in terms of there were some really good questions by the press that were there, and I think they had good prepared answers that weren't complete dodges, but they did not offer a ton, which there's not a lot that they can say in this one. So I thought they dealt with this really well. And I think Ken Babby and Bill Cosgrove came off really well as pretty charismatic and charming guys. And I think that's very I, listen, it's going to be an improvement early on. We'll see how when they actually get, their hands dirty, but Brian Ald and Matt Silverman, that this was a pretty burned bridges in this area with their tactics and the way they approach these things. And I think both Babby and Cosgrove came in with a bit more sugar. But it's also the start, right?
Yeah.
They've not had to be in a meeting with Chris Latvala yet. So officially, which we will get into
Right.
because there's a lot of things where they have not done anything. They're just starting out. There's been no talks. Legally, they can't talk to anybody.
And you had a
We'll see.
great out when they were asked some of those tough questions during the
Yes.
press conference, where it's like, yeah,
Yes.
we just started. We know this has been in the works for months, if not years.
Hmm.
And they officially took over when they closed last week. But yeah, they were able to kind of dodge. Not that I was expecting them to answer
There
some
were
of the
artful
tougher
dodges.
questions about the stadium, because really more than an introduction to these new owners, um, it's very clear what this press conference was about. It's very clear what the ownership change is about, and it's about building a new stadium. It's something that the
Yeah.
last group failed to do, and if they
Hmm.
hadn't failed to do it, they'd still be here. I still think I've always had a hunch that as soon as the stadium deal got done and the stadium was built, Sternberg would look to sell. Um, and he was not expecting to sell before a stadium was
No.
built, and that's just how the cookie crumbled because they failed. So when this
Yeah.
ownership group comes in, we all kind of know why.
Hmm.
It's not like Sternberg just fell out of love with baseball or was looking to get a return on investment, which he very much did. Got
He
very
did.
rich off of this deal, but everyone knew what these new owners are here to do. And so the press conference, there was a couple of baseball operations questions. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Which they had a great answer for, great
They
prepared answer for as well.
they did. It would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, if you botch that question,
Listen,
we're in
they
for
they
world's
hit
trouble.
they didn't like uh you know like turn a ton of heads with some like junior Caminero batting practice type of like power, but they didn't miss the meatballs down the middle.
No,
Like, and I think that's what's important, right? They didn't chase, and they hit the balls that they swung at the pitches they should have swung at. I think the other thing with this is that they did some very artful dodges, and this is a very delicate balance because Stuart Sternberg is still technically a 10% owner.
mm-hmm.
It's more on the books. He is not at all in charge anymore, but he's a 10% owner still at a certain point, vesting that later to be sold
Yeah,
back, but it's like more like legalese. But he's still technically a part of this team. He's also, you're selling, and it's been a very like um positive, like, ending for Stu and an introduction to Zalupski and his group. So I think there's a lot of things that, like, when you're asked about burned bridges and like, here's a bunch of like, you're saying all the stuff that the previous administration said, how what will be different. You can't be like, well, we actually know how to talk to people. I've actually built, like, I've done real estate deals. The other guy hasn't. uh like, you can't really like throw Stu under the bus, right? You have to kind of artfully dodge, like, what is different is that you're hoping that these guys have a plan to execute with a much bigger purse and a revenue stream that they can actually like attack this real estate problem, rather than the way Stuart Sternberg and his group kind of failed at it, which always seemed to be some half measures and bad timing and
mm-hmm.
potentially not the best political relationships.
That's correct. And the my my take on some of their answers to the stadium is that these are the same things. And again, this is not a critique of the new owners because I don't
No.
know anything about them. I don't have anything to judge them on except for this press conference. So this is not to say that they are going to do a poor job. I am optimistic actually that they'll do a good job and they'll make this stadium happen. Um, but the words that they said in this press conference are the same, basically the same words we've been hearing for 20 years
Totally.
from Sternberg, Silverman, and Alt.
Mhm.
Yeah, that they had the same vision too, right? Yeah, we'd love to keep this team here forever, build our forever home, and
Mixed use, public private
yeah,
partnership, development, the battery, blah blah blah. Yeah.
right. And
Everybody that's building a new stadium wants all these things.
and it sounds like, and again, a lot of the things you say are negotiation tactics. This is very much part of the negotiations, right? The things you say
Hmm.
publicly, they can and will be held against you when you go to the
Hmm.
negotiating table with Hillsborough County, with City of Tampa, with St. Petersburg. You still have to return to St. Petersburg and play at least the next 3 seasons at
Right.
Tropicana Field. And odds are, wherever you build this stadium, you're not doing it out of your own pocketbook. You're going to need some public funding,
Yes.
um, which again was a big issue for Sternberg. It was one of the things he really struggled with. He finally reached a deal that looked great a year and a half ago
Hmm.
with Pinellas County and St. Petersburg that ultimately imploded. Everything we've heard points to Hillsborough County, City of Tampa for the ballpark that they'd like to build. Um,
Hmm.
they just got to build it, right? And
Well,
that's going to be the
let's
biggest hurdle is
it
actually
is the
getting it
biggest
done.
hurdle, right? So let's dive into some of the big like headlines that came out of this, the things that they did answer or the way they answered it and what we might know, right? So one of the big questions, you kind of set it up there, which was money. uh, where is the money coming from, right? It's the biggest question for building a stadium, right? Is like, are you going to pay for it, or are you going to ask the taxpayers to pay for it, or is there a third magic option that's going to just arise, that you're going to do a heist of Jeff Bezos's house and
or you do the
one of his
Riyadh Comedy
yachts.
Festival, and that
You're
covers the
yes,
bill.
they actually on the I did a quick look. I did not see Bill Burr or Kevin Hart on the minority owner group, but that would have explained a lot. That would have explained a
Yeah.
lot. Saudi blood money right into the thing. Uh, now the thing is, we kind of know the answer to that, right? Like Patrick Zalupski is worth 1.7 billion. He bought the team for 1.7 billion. Obviously, there is a lot of other money involved with Cosgrove as well being a huge chunk of it. Dan Doyle, and then some other ownership group, but that's a lot of money up front to buy a
Hmm.
franchise. You now need to build a stadium, which costs a lot of money. It's going
Pretty
to cost
quickly too.
over a billion. It's going to cost over a billion, no matter which way you cut it. And so that money, it the big first thing is, are they going to say we're going to pay for it out of our pocket? That would have been a big shocking headline, right? That would have been a big one, and that would probably be like a 10 out of 10 press conference because
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, I know they had this much
And then
money,
you lose all leverage, right? It's like,
and
well,
then you lose all
you got
leverage.
you got
Yeah,
you guys said you're going to pay for it. Go ahead, build it here. Here's
right.
some land. Build your stadium.
They did not. They artfully dodged like what's the percentage, right? Because like they said the question, I forget who asked these questions, so I apologize, but they were all really good. I will say everybody that was there that asked questions, I thought did a fantastic job. They were like reasonable, really good. Like these were the questions that I had in mind, and so I
Yeah.
liked them. And that was basically like, hey, there's a St. Petersburg deal, and this was the breakdown. Is that like what you're looking for? Are you looking for more? Are you looking for less? They artfully dodge that, which again, it's in the negotiation phase, right? You're not going to say we're going to pay 50% because then, like, oh, maybe there was actually maybe you could pay 40% instead. And like
Right.
again, when we talk about this stuff, I'm very much. I think we're both on the agreement that like owners should pay for everything, right? This is your thing. You're reaping the huge cost reward for this. You should pay for everything. That's not how the world works. So I'm also not going to I'm not going to say like it's a moral failing of the new ownership for not paying for everything. I do laud owners that do pay for their entire new stadium. But like, it's one of those things where like that's just not how this thing works often. And so I get it. They're going to want, public financing. And I'm hoping that it's a deal that is at least reasonable for the city and the
Hmm.
county. But I'm totally fine with them not answering that right away. Like that's
Yeah.
you're not going to say that right off the bat.
Yeah. No.
But they
eh,
do want public money. That is the big headline out of that is that they're going to ask for a public private partnership, which is the
Ensure, right?
fancy way of
Like
saying.
wherever they build, and I think that their plan A.
Mhm.
There's enough clues out there, and we'll get into that in just a little
Yeah.
bit. They're going to need infrastructure help, and you're going to have to get in business with a lot of different groups, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be important. The other thing that people were talking about that they sounded a little just gauging social media in interactions and posts. Um, the year 2029, they're like, oh, that sounds aggressive. Like that, well,
Yeah.
can they get a ballpark built by then? And again, the reason you have to say 2029 when you're asked that question is the Rays don't have a place to play starting in 2029.
Yes.
That's not to say that they will be playing in a new ballpark come 2029. But as of now, your use agreement for Tropicana Field ends after the 2028 season. It was extended a year
Hmm.
due to the hurricane and them not playing in it this year. You have to play there through 2028. And as of right now, 2029, they don't have a home. So they didn't rule out um, extending that use agreement.
Yes.
I think Ken Babby was the one to answer that question and said,
Yeah.
he just
Said
kept
it's premature.
reiterating, we're so excited to get back there. He did mention some fan experience things. That is one thing, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here
Love
that
it.
I'm very curious about. I was very curious when all of this was going on with the Trop, and we knew they were rebuilding the Trop before we knew that a sale was final. Is that the city of St. Petersburg is responsible for putting making sure the field, the playing surface is playable, and that there is a roof on that dome. We've seen the progress pictures. They're doing great work getting the dome
Yeah.
repaired.
Halfway. 12 out of 24 panels.
As far as I know, legally, that is all that the city of St. Petersburg is responsible for.
You can stand in
Yeah.
on the concrete sidelines, and that's all you need.
So for Ken Batty to mention how excited they are to get back in the Trop and all of the great things they have planned for the fan experience back at
Hmm.
Tropicana Field, I'm really curious to see what that looks like because it's going to take a lot of money. And one thing for the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, there was a stretch where Tropicana Field, I think the last ownership, excuse me, the last ownership like kind of let the stadium go, thinking maybe they weren't long for that ballpark. And then it got really bad. And then around 2017, 18, Sternberg started pumping a lot more money
Hmm.
into putting lipstick on a pig, for lack of a better term. Getting a new sound system, new lighting, new concessions vendors, new
New
in
turf.
new
New turf.
turf. They replaced
A
the turf.
couple
Like it used to be
couple of
like every
times
5 years they might get new turf, and then they were replacing it after every season.
every year. Yeah.
And I give Sternberg a lot of credit. Like they didn't have to do that. And they did it, and it made the experience. If you've been to a game at Tropicana Field in the last 5 to 8 years, and you go year to year, I did. I noticed that the game day experience got better. The food got better. The things to do around the ballpark got better. Getting in and out, going cashless. Like they put in a lot of work to make that experience as good as it could be, or other things that they weren't doing. Um, but now there's a new group in, and how much money are they going to put in this ballpark that they might only play in for 3 seasons? I'm
At
very
least
curious.
at least three, and I think that's going to be interesting. I liked hearing that. It was nice to hear so much praise for the Trop and like being returning to that and not making that be like, well, obviously we need a place to stay, but like it's more like I'm excited. That's pretty much one of the biggest like hype things that Babby was really talking about was he has like there's like all these good plans for it, and that more info will be kind of out closer to the season. I'm very excited about that too. Like I think I'm very curious to see
Yeah,
like, because that is money. That is kind of a sunk cost, but it's also
millions
like,
of dollars they're going to have to put in that ballpark.
but it's also like this is, you kind of need to do that. You get a nice runway. You get a nice runway as new ownership, but 3 years is a long time.
But it's quick. It's a quick turnaround. April 6th. Your
Yeah.
ballpark needs to be ready by April 6th. And I think they probably get a little bit of leeway if there are certain aspects of the ballpark experience that aren't, oh, we're still working on things.
Still going.
We hope
Yes.
to be fully operate. Like we went through a hurricane. You're going to have some grace. There's a grace period. Um, and I don't doubt that Ken Babby is like knows the right things to say. Clearly, he does. Um,
He's been a fan experience guy. Like
but
he
but what
his
he says and what the men behind the curtain do in terms
Yeah.
of like how they're doing this is going to be really important. I think it's good to be critical of those things, but again, optimistic. I think you and I are both optimistic.
We're on the
I
cautiously optimistic side.
Right,
Like,
but I'm also not naive to say that
yeah,
like they bought this team for a reason. Do they love baseball? I'm sure they love baseball. Do they want to get into the fraternity of Major League Baseball owners? Of course they did. Ken Babby, great experience in minor league baseball, has
hmm,
never run a major league team before. And the biggest reason, not the only reason, but the biggest reason that he's running this team is because his rich friend bought the team. Um, that. So again, I'm just taking. I'm not trying to put the carriage before the horse here.
hmm,
I am trying to come at this as neutral as I can. Um, but I'm not also. I saw a lot of fans like that. These benevolent saviors coming in to take over the Rays and do
yeah.
everything that Sternberg wasn't. Be everything that Sternberg wasn't. We just don't know that yet. We don't know that based on the things they said in the press conference because again, it's the same crap that the last group said. We need to judge them by their actions.
Absolutely. You have to absolutely judge by their actions. But I will say this, like I think Ken Babby is like a really key piece to all of
Yeah.
this because I never doubted that Stu Sternberg wanted to own a baseball team, right? Like not like a sports team, like, oh, he'll just get a hockey one came open. And so he'll be like, sure. Like I firmly believe that Stuart Sternberg really wanted for both the financial investment side, but also I think he clearly likes baseball, right? Anytime he was in the booth, he would be baseball, like fan. I don't know if Patrick Zalupski is the same. He's kind of stiff, I will say. Like during the press conference, he seemed a little nervous. It may
I
not
don't
be
think we'll
like
hear from him very much.
yeah, but also if you are a billionaire and you're really smart and you know how to hire the right people to do the right things, that is that's a really smart thing to do. That's what really smart people do. The people that are kind of not that smart end up trying to put their hands in too many pies and suddenly you're kind of messing things up. But I think Ken Babby is a really good choice because he's very charismatic guy. He was very charming. He had some funny
Mm-hmm.
jokes. Uh, he was a ball boy at Old Al Lang, which is kind of a
Cool
cool
story.
bit of like it's a cool bit of history. I absolutely agree though. Like you have to see like show me the action, right? Everybody talks a big game, but show me the action. I kind of liked that they didn't overpromise too much. They talked
Yeah.
about fan experience, but they didn't say like the Trop is going to be a like a glorious brand new ballpark
Nor
and then we're going
should
to get a
they.
new ballpark. Yeah, like it's I think they are
Like if
setting
they
the
put
right
$50 million
expectation.
into the Trop next year, and I'd say, well, just go get Kyle Tucker, and I don't
Yeah,
care about.
we'll bring long chairs. We'll bring long chairs. If you get King Tuck in right field, we'll bring long chairs. That's all good. Blankets. We'll be fine. We don't need seats. Standing room, the whole building. No, but I think Ken Babby's like the right kind of guy for this because when you are having the like business front side and
Mhm.
that person clearly likes baseball, right? Is he's been around baseball, he's been in
Yeah,
baseball, knows baseball. Minor league, yes, but like has a passion for the game. If that's your business front side and your baseball ops side is great, that is a lot better than I they didn't come in with just entirely private equity takeover
right.
style
No, that
talk.
yeah, it's I don't I don't I do care that Ken Babby is passionate about baseball, but I care more that he does have experience working in
Yes.
baseball. That which is something that Silverman and Friedman, for that matter,
No, they
didn't
didn't.
really do, and
They had a
Friedman
lot of
proves
great experience in business, but
right.
this was it's a different business. Now
Um,
he has to actually do it, so like we'll see that as well. And with Zalupski, I it is very possible that this major thing he is a land developer. Baseball and sports teams, especially stadiums, are the greatest land development boondoggle you can imagine.
yeah, and I
So
don't think
is
he knows that, and
and maybe that is
there's
the
a reason he
primary
became
reason.
worth $1.7 billion, and it wasn't by
Yes,
like just oh yeah, we're gonna build ballparks and everyone can come out to the games for free, and like
exactly.
he knows how to play the game.
Now, continuing on, we had a couple other things that they stated. I think we should move on to the biggest thing, which was they said 2029
Hmm.
for the opening, which is aggressive. But again, I like what you're saying. It's like, well, that's the minimum. Like you should be targeting that. Like that should be the first deadline. You might have to push that back.
Well, no, because if they said 2032, the next question is, well, where are you going to play from 2029 to 2031?
Yeah, exactly. And I think kicking that back a little bit is probably fine. And I think 2029 it is aggressive. Things have to move very very fast. You'd
It's
probably have
doable
to have
though.
shovels in the ground by like the end of next year at the absolute latest, which probably not going to happen. But I do think like you want that aggressive target, right? You should have that aggressive target. The other big thing that came out of this, besides all the things that everyone knew we were going to say, was public-private partnership, like the Battery in Atlanta as like the model. 100 acres.
Mm,
100 acres is the big one.
it's a lot
Not
of acres.
it's a lot of acres. The Battery is 75 acres, so it's bigger than that.
And
100 acres greatly reduces the locations that
yeah,
are potential.
it. it eliminates Ybor Harbor.
It does. It does.
It eliminates the historic gas plant district in St. Petersburg.
It does. It
It
does.
leaves open. I mean, some of the you could go back through the old Rolodex of Rays stadium
Yep.
ideas of Derby Lane. That's big enough.
Fairgrounds.
The fairgrounds, I guess, is probably big
I don't
enough.
like that stadium site, but like it
Yeah,
is one of the ones.
but the one
Yeah.
that had started to gain a little bit of buzz before this press conference, the one that I started to have a hunch might be one of the leaders in the clubhouse, is right next door to where the Rays played their 2025 season at the Hillsborough Community College soon to be Hillsborough College, Dale Mabry campus, right across the street from Raymond James Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
right next door to where the New York Yankees currently play spring training and is the home of the Tampa Tarpons. It is a 108-acre plot of land,
If you would have
eerily
said we
close
needed
to 100 acres.
108 acres, I feel like that would have been the only better giveaway. Was
Yeah,
like we're targeting 108 specific acres.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's been rumored since the press conference. We have the
Even
is it the
before
president of Hillsborough Community College has come
the
out and
board of
said that
trustees,
this
the
someone
head,
from the board of trustees,
the chairman of the board of
who
trustees.
and the board of trustees would ultimately make that decision. It's not something the
Mm-hmm.
president would have much say on at the college, but he would have some say for sure. Um, I said this would be a great deal for us too, and seemingly that's
Mm-hmm.
because Hillsborough HCC would remain on that site in some form or fashion. There would be a campus there. It might not be their flagship campus any longer, but HCC's got um, several satellite campuses across, all the
Yes.
way down in Ruskin. There's one. There's one in Brandon. There's a small Ybor campus. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a Plant City campus. They're all over the place in Hillsborough County. He says this would be great for us. And I don't know, it feels like if you're going to build it in Tampa, that
Mm-hmm.
is the the goal is to build it right
Yeah.
there on Dale Mabry and build
Infrastructure.
mixed use development.
The infrastructure is a lot of the things that you need are already in place.
Yeah.
Huge freeway system, exits, off ramps, parking lots, access, cross streets. Like it's it's what you need. Like you don't. There's some other areas that are when you're looking at different places, you are looking at like how do you get people here and out. It also is a place that you could see potentially expanded public transport. You
Mm-hmm.
know, buses
Yeah.
obviously will go there, but like eventually the rail system could be expanded not too difficultly to get there to add another element. So
Yeah.
it does have and it's interesting that like HCC's campus came up as like an option in was it the Times like about a
Mm-hmm.
month ago
Yeah.
as like this would be an interesting spot. And then 100 acres, you're like what's 100 acres? HCC is 108.
Yeah.
Interesting. uh
When,
yeah
when
I
that was the when I was watching that live, and he said 100 acres, like I kind of had it on in the background while I was at work, and like my ears perked up immediately. I'm like, 100 acres? Where the hell are they gonna? There's only one spot.
it's the most specific thing they said too, right? Because
Yeah,
2029 was like they're like it's a target, it's an aggressive target, but we think we can get there. 100 acre. He didn't say not 75 to 100. Not saying like the battery we were looking at 75, but even more would be better. 100,
hmm
which again that's a way to me, and this is there's no background info on this. I don't have any info on this. I have nothing I can even prove in a court of law. But to me, the fact that they would say that in the press conference, 100 acres, which eliminates a lot of spots, and the way Mayor Jane Castor has talked, the way
hmm
HCC's board chairman
yeah,
came out immediately was like, actually, it'd be a great deal. I don't know. It feels like there is a quite a bit of potential it feels like some of these conversations are more than just we're going to start talking about spots and we're going to spin a wheel in a hunt. That would be nice.
Darby, are you hinting at that when Patrick Zalewski said that they have had no discussions with elected officials in Tampa or Hillsborough County about a stadium deal before the deal was closed? Are you saying that that maybe, not saying he was lying, but
Mm-mm.
that maybe there was some part of that that wasn't fully true?
I think legally he was telling the truth, but I think Patrick Zalupski has a lot of people that work for him in his businesses,
Yeah.
and they might have had conversations about like just spitballing with a if if a team were to build a like a stadium, what are kind of some of the
Well,
options?
and
And
this has been reported on, and it is public knowledge that Stephanie Cardozo works for the Southern Group. It's a lobbying firm with offices like all over the Southeast, or the Southern Group is what it's called. Um, that she was lobbying on behalf of. She works very closely with Zalupski and Dreamfinders, which is his
vendors,
company. Was lobbying on behalf of Dreamfinders and had a meeting with Jane Castor, which is all you
mm-hmm.
can find all of this. It's public knowledge
Yep,
through Florida Sunshine Law back in, or it was earlier in the calendar year. I don't have the exact date. It was like January, February, I think.
yeah, something like that.
And now the
It was
Tampa Bay Times
after
reported
it
that
was
Cardozo,
after
well,
the St. Pete deal fell through. It might have been
yes,
even later because it was one of those things where it was like, ooh, we're they probably have to leave at some like Stu Sternberg is pretty much out of runway. And that came up later when they were looking at different things. Yeah, and that seemed like an after that meeting.
yeah, and then the Tampa Bay Times was reporting that Cardozo, who works closely with Zalewski, was helping kind of organize this introductory press conference. And to
Mm-hmm.
my knowledge, she is not a Rays employee,
Mm-mm.
at least not yet. And so these two work very closely. It sounds like she will be. I don't know. It would shock me if she leaves the Southern Group and it becomes a Rays employee very
But it
soon.
very importantly, at the time,
Yeah,
was not involved in the transition team or with
right.
the ownership group. So
And
what
at the time, Patrick Zalewski was not the owner of the Tampa Bay
he
Rays.
was a prospective home builder
Yeah,
in the state of Florida.
yeah, with a seemingly interests in the city of Tampa and in Hillsborough
Mm-hmm.
County. Why wouldn't he want someone meeting with the mayor of Tampa? Um, again,
The confidence from people like Chris Latvala, who switched his vote very notably, that kind of started this process. The Rob Manfred involvement with both
mm,
Governor Ron DeSantis, and like the St. Pete
yeah,
Council, which again, like the commissioner of baseball, having a sit down with people on the city council or the county council is pretty impressive. And like there is a real like post Rob Manfred, whatever he said, whatever like kind of yarn he spun, and we know that he was involved very closely in this sale. Um, he had people from the commissioner's office helping to broker this things. Patrick Zalupski had been vetted before by Major League Baseball as somebody who had attempted to buy the Twins. A lot of people, everybody's trying to buy the Twins. Nobody's succeeding yet. But like he's been around baseball. Major League Baseball is seemingly involved. There's been a lot of confidence that they will stay in the Tampa Bay area. They want this media market. I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but it's seemingly like if there's a will, there's a way. And it does seem like there's been a lot of stuff that's at least had some initial discussions about what that would look like. And is that feasible or is this just a non starter right off the bat? And I think the fact that Mayor Castor has been very kind of vocally open to the idea that, like, everyone keeps saying there's no money in Hillsborough. There's money. There's money for a stadium. There's money for the Bucks and potentially the Rays.
and if you're
I don't know.
building
It's
across the street, there's probably like, okay, you're telling me that the Glazers and the Bucks aren't interested. Like, there's a way to work them into this too.
potentially.
Right now there's really nothing around Raymond James Stadium that entertainment wise, right? It's a
Hmm.
big parking lot. People tailgate at houses scattered in the neighborhoods, the surrounding neighborhoods. Um, you told me the Glazers wouldn't have any interest in maybe some mixed use development, especially if you look at that plot of land and you build it in the southwest corner of that plot of land, and you
Hmm.
have the entertainment district in the southeast corner, which would be directly across the street from Raymond James Stadium. And let's say there are some bridges and walkways that connect those two
Yeah.
pieces of land, and fans can get to and from the entertainment district and Raymond James Stadium, and then also on the other side, a brand new ballpark. Um, I, it you know I don't know all of the financial details or the logistics of what building on this site looks like,
Hmm.
but it makes me wonder why the hell did Sternberg not build a ballpark here years ago?
And the things that we don't know, the biggest things that we don't know is how much how much is the limited liquidity of Sternberg, being one of the poorest owners in Major League Baseball. How much of that kind of hurt like his initial thing? Like he did not have maybe access to some of the things
Yeah,
that Zalupski can.
I think it's pretty clear now that Sternberg had just enough money to build a ballpark under the terms of the St. Pete Pinellas County Gas Plant District deal before last year's election and before the hurricane.
Yeah.
And that those things changed the deal enough that Sternberg could no longer build a stadium there. I think all along the plan was to get the biggest sweetheart deal he could and then sell.
Hmm.
And the timeline was just changed due to some events, outside of his
Number of
control.
things too, right?
And we
Costs
can say that's not a
of
good plan. And
materials.
maybe you shouldn't have been in the business of building ballparks if you
Yeah.
don't have enough money to build a
Yeah.
ballpark.
It very much so, right? And then also that potentially bleeds over to negotiations with the local community, right? If you're like,
Yeah,
I gotta have 55% public financing. I cannot take 50%. I have to have 55%. I don't know.
showing
Maybe
your
you're
hand
like,
a little bit there.
geez, like, yeah, I'm like, maybe I don't want to get in business with you. And we don't know how these things work. So I'm not saying that like because Patrick Zalupski has built homes, he can just do this much easier.
It's very
It's still going to
different.
be difficult. This is the biggest project he will have ever done. But I it is one of those things where a fresh set of people discussing, starting at a much better place, potentially with more access to liquidity, and maybe potentially also just having a bit more of an idea of what development looks like.
Mhm.
What are the wheels that need to be greased? What are the things that you need to hit? What can you do? What can you give up? I mean, like Sternberg is a very smart man, clearly, but like he is coming. His field is extremely different than Patrick Zalupski's field. And there is something to the idea that you are coming from a Wall Street investment background
Yep.
and hedge funds. And that is a different field than working directly with individuals,
Yep.
buttering up a city commissioner and and doing the things that you need to do to buy a parking lot. The other thing with HCC it is really important is that there is a single owner for that entire land, which with a lot of these deals and a lot of these other locations is trickier because it's multiple parcels, it's multiple people. So you would have to now make multiple deals. This one, it's a bigger parcel, so you would potentially have to deal with just one person and make one big deal. And will that be easier? I mean, I think just in terms of everything I've heard, like the fewer the owners, the easier it becomes because now you're just negotiating price with one instead of
Right.
this variable level. But the 100 acres by far the most interesting thing that came out of this press conference to me because it's the one that like gave us new information,
Yeah.
brand
There,
new information.
well, there was another quote. Now I want to kind of shift the discussion to the baseball operations side. So they did,
Yes.
kind of confirm. And this is stuff we felt pretty confident in based on reporting by the Tampa Bay Times that
Yeah.
the plan was to keep Eric Neander and Kevin Cash. Um, they confirmed that. Another quote, and I believe this was Zalupski who said this, was that the economics of this ball club have not changed. And I think that's important. And it was
Mm-hmm.
something that, again, you know, the Rays and the preconceived notions about the Rays that they're going to have a terrible payroll and they're going to trade anyone who makes money and they're never going to go after big free agents. As I don't know, I might disagree with just that general premise. That was the perception. And when you get new owners that maybe have a little bit more money, I think a lot of fans' first reaction is to say, all right, we're going to go out, we're going to spend a ton of money and we're going to change the way the Rays are run. And this is finally going to be, you keep Eric
Mm-hmm.
Neander and then you throw more money, at his payroll. And oh my gosh, we're going to win the World Series every year. We're going to be unstoppable. I I think everyone needs to kind of pump the brakes on that.
Mm-hmm.
One, they're building a stadium. That's going to cost money. They have to rebuild a stadium to play in for at least the next 3 seasons. That's going to
Cost
cost
money.
money. And the Tampa Bay market is still the Tampa Bay market. And while you're the 11th largest media market in the country, and that's worth something, there's also a lot of uncertainty about the future of the value of what being the 11th largest media market even means.
Mm-hmm.
The regional sports network bubble has fully burst. The Tampa Bay, I got my Tampa Bay Lightning shirt on. They did not play on a regional sports network last night. They were on over the air television and still on ESPN Plus, and they were on a cable channel for in market fans that you can watch on cable. And while that might be great for the fans, I don't know if that's great for money, right? I mean, for a
Mm-hmm.
long time when cable boxes were king, that was how you made a killing as an owner, an American sports owner. Is you're getting insane amounts of money from
Yeah.
these regional sports network TV deals because everyone who had a cable box in their house was paying an RSN fee, whether they watched sports or not. So
Mm-hmm.
being in the 11th largest media market meant a lot for the Rays, and it helped the Rays, I think, a lot during Sternberg's ownership. That's no longer the case, and there's a lot of uncertainty about that. And so the economics have not changed in terms of what this new ownership group can afford to do right away. Will payroll go up? I mean, I hope so. I hope we see maybe a couple more free agent signings, maybe a couple more extensions for not the biggest players on the team. But the way the Rays operate, I don't think is going to change, especially while Eric Neander is in charge, because a lot of the decisions he makes aren't necessarily financial decisions; they're baseball decisions, and you can criticize him all you want about the baseball decisions, and I think that's a fine discussion to
Yeah.
have. Uh, but yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more about what that means for how the Rays are going to approach this offseason from a baseball standpoint.
I think the two things with that were important, like you said, which was the economics have not changed, and I think that's their way of saying, not confirming, but not saying like payroll's doubling, everybody. Payroll's doubling. What was it last year? Double it. Which also, I don't think they were ever going to say what their payroll number is. You never put that out as a team. You're not going to be like, we're
No,
going to spend
again,
100 million. Because it's like,
negotiations.
what if there's I don't like, yeah, because if you're a free agent and you're like, you're at
And
94
Junior
million.
Caminera's
Well,
agent,
I'll go
he was
6 million,
watching the
six
press
million per year.
conference.
You're offering me 3. I think you go to 6, you
Yeah.
know? No, they're not going to put the number on it. We don't know what their payroll number is with these economics. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think saying the economics haven't changed is factually accurate. And I think expecting them to greatly increase payroll ever was going to be crazy. I still think like the target for me is where the Milwaukee Brewers are at, which is around 120 to 130 million or so annually. And that's like a mix of you have like a returning veteran player, but you also have like a lot of these like savvy smaller deals, right? Like they're
Right.
being buoyed by Andrew Vaughn and Jake Bowers and Isaac Collins and
But you can afford to keep
Lockridge.
Christian Yelich,
But you can afford to keep Kristen
who's
Yelich. You can
who's
have
been good.
Wilson
Don't get me wrong.
Contreras. And so like that's I think that is a sustainable model. I don't think they cannot turn into the Dodgers. They cannot turn into the Mets. Patrick Zalewski does not have, again, Steve Cohen FU money, right? But they can absolutely spend more than they have. Will that happen initially and immediately? I don't know. I would doubt it just because of the fact that the stadium is like a big thing. And then you have a little bit of time bought by being like, hey, we're fresh. We're in a new
Yeah.
stadium, new owners, new vibes. If you can get a
You're worried about two
stadium
stadiums right
announced,
now. Like you're worried about the
yes,
Trop, and you're worried about the new
yeah.
stadium, and you're worried about Wander Franco and his contract. Maybe you're less worried about that.
Again, it's not the greatest time to try to be immigrating to this country with the current administration. So I feel like convicted, sex offender, even if it gets overturned, I don't know. It's feeling like pretty hard to get in here, but we'll see. But it is an outstanding question.
Yeah.
Uh, you have to. I would think like the bigger priority over signing like Kyle Tucker is signing Junior Caminero,
Yep.
right? Is like maybe you spend the money that you have this offseason, you could get like a Cedric Mullins, right? So
Mm.
if we're shifting to like what does baseball look like, I think you could maybe afford like there's some things with this thing. The other thing they said, which relates to this, was and they had a good canned response, right? They had it like written clearly, but it's a good response, and it's what we wanted to hear, which was when asked about the front office, Zalewski said, which with a grin, but basically there's an unofficial rule that Ken and Bill and me, we stay out of
That was
Eric's
a good
office.
line, and they didn't have to say
Yes,
that. They didn't have to word it that way.
they didn't.
You
They
can
didn't.
word,
You can say we support them.
right. We have full trust in
I
Eric.
trust them.
Yep.
No, it went beyond trust. It was like, actually, we don't know shit. So about baseball, we know this. We know business.
Yep.
And we're going to be busy enough with business. So we're going to let this multi-time executive of the year handle his business, which I think, listen, will it actually happen? Like no contact. No, obviously,
Right.
Eric's going to contact, Patrick Zalewski is
In
going to
the
contact
owners,
Ken.
like I think that's the way Sternberg operated for the most part.
Set the check, set the payroll, give them a call when you're like, I'm going to be trading this guy.
Yeah.
And maybe the owner says like, God, is there any other way? But I think for the most part, that is what I wanted to hear, which was going beyond like the tepid into like a full throated, like, hey, I'm not going to be Artie Moreno here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be I'm not going to be Jerry Jones. We're going to be dealing with land and acquisitions and stadiums and all of that. And Eric is going to be busy trying to build a winner like he has been. And I'm going to write a check and he's going to build a team based on the payroll that I give him. And that's it. We are separate houses of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a good line. I thought it was delivered well. The guys, I think, I believe that is at least the initial plan. I believe they initially are like, yeah, we have our own stuff to deal with, and we are
Well,
fully trusting this to, and then that was the line, right? In Kevin and Eric, we trust.
in that's something that I'm sure Eric Neander and Kevin Cash, those are discussions that they've had with the new group,
Yes,
and
yes,
they have leverage in that. Say, I don't
they
know
could have
what their
walked.
contracts look like. I don't know what if they could get
I
out of those
imagine there's an
deals.
opt out for new ownership.
I imagine so.
I feel like that's usually the case.
So,
I would imagine.
Eric Neander could turn to this new group and say, hey, guys, I think what we're doing here is working, even though it's been a couple of tough seasons. And I really like this job and I really like the way things have been run. But if I were to hit the open market, I'd have some suitors.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'd like to keep doing things the way that they've been done with the people in place that have been doing them. And I imagine the new owners were like, yeah, that sounds great. Because what like we don't want to do is worry about two ballparks and then also rehauling the baseball operations department
yeah.
and rehauling a coaching staff. That's something that really right now we don't have the bandwidth for.
No,
Because if they are going to build a new stadium for 2029, they
it's a
also
full time
need
job.
to, yeah, not worry about baseball stuff. Um, as funny as that sounds. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the baseball is getting in the way of the land acquisition and building. No, but
that's
it's
what we're
true though,
really here for. Like, give me all the
because
land.
This is a land acquisition. This is a building podcast now. No, but I think that is the key, though, is that the Rays, in the way they've operated, have built consistently competitive clubs the way they've operated,
Yep.
and which has been a micro budget, right? I would like to see that increase, even in the short term, increase a little bit. And I think potentially that is like saying like you can take a little bit more chances on this or that.
Well,
But
and that's not to say that they won't go after Kyle Tucker hard.
no, that's true.
They went after. I could see the way they went after Freddie Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened with Kyle Tucker, and then at the end of the day, Kyle Tucker signs for the Dodgers. Right? It just plays out the same
Yes.
way.
Yep. For actually less money, but
Less
it's the
money.
Dodgers. So yeah. No, it
Um,
absolutely right.
it
Like I
has to be
think
the right deal. It's not going to be like an 11-year, $410 million deal, or $440 million deal. Like it's got to be the right deal.
has Kyle Tucker always dreamed of having the Hillsborough Community College new baseball field named after him? Because that we could maybe add into the deal. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the sweetener.
yeah,
Dodgers won't do that, but Patrick Zalewski would be like, we can make a call.
yeah. So, like I say that to say, yeah, the Rays under the last ownership made contract offers to Bryce Harper, Shohei Ohtani, and Aaron Judge.
Yeah. And Freddie Freeman. And like Freddie
The
Freeman,
the Freeman
all the
one was the
reports,
most legitimate. Like
like,
they thought they had a
yes,
real shot at getting him.
that was with the years and money, a thing that they could have actually done.
Yeah.
Whereas the Harper one was more like, listen, if you want a pillow contract, we'll do a pillow contract.
Mhm.
Right? Like it'll be like, here we're gonna make sure that you're getting a boatload for a year. We can't do the risk for multi-years, but we can do this. The Kyle Tucker thing is interesting though, because you could potentially do that one deal and then like no other spending and not raise the payroll that much year to year, but like make it seem like you are now
And it also puts you in a
a
real,
new
like, if you
era.
talk about if we're talking about baseball, I think in terms of a clear need from last year's team, um, offensive production from the corner outfield spots, like
Yeah.
it should feel like a real hole, um, for
And
the 2025
it would
season.
be something that you could say like if you are feeling very confident about your stadium plans and be like and your projections,
Hmm.
you can be like, okay, it's going to be lean in this part, but then it'll be fine later on.
Yeah,
It's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he gets
he's also
a
like
deal
they're
that
going to
just
get
jumps up.
outbid, right? Like you're going to have your deal. I don't think with Freeman at Freeman's age, the Rays still felt confident about his abilities, and rightfully so.
Hmm.
Look what he's doing. That we don't mind paying him into his late 30s because we think his profile is going to hold up. Tucker, on the other hand, in his prime, is going to be in his prime, at least offensively, for several years.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be more teams in the bidding at that number, whatever that number turns out to be. And ultimately, I think you just get outbid. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other players out there. You mentioned Cedric Mullins. I think
Hmm.
that's a great idea. That's just one name of
A little bit
several.
more. Harrison Bader,
Hmm.
is in that like list of like guys that are maybe like some solid vets that they needed just to raise the floor
Yeah,
a bit. I mean, Mullins had it was pretty bad after the trade deadline, but
yeah.
like I think that's like a guy. I think there's some areas that you can improve a little bit.
And there's
And
trades. You could always make
if you're
trades.
looking at this team right now, like as assembled, and if you're Patrick Zalewski, like they underperformed their run differential. They were a team that at one point was like a game out of first, and then had like the weirdest bad month where everybody in the bullpen just forgot how to finish.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
like
you're banking on Zalupski being as big of a Pythags believer as you
listen,
are.
he looks like a smart man to me, and all the smart homies know that expected win percentage, Pythagorean
That should
win
determine the
expectation.
postseason, not your win loss record. Your
I was
Pythag.
hoping that Zalewski or maybe Cosgrove would drop a third order win percentage reference, give a shout out to Patrick Davenport. But, I feel like that was the question that I would have asked. But they didn't, they only had 30 minutes.
Hey,
So
open invitation to any of those three gentlemen if they want to come on the show.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
talk some
You
ball,
can
talk
also
whatever.
leave your cell phone on if Bill Cosgrove wants to, if he needs to take a call during.
Oh my gosh, that was
It was
like
great.
Zalupski. Like I was watching the start of that, and Zalupski
Seemed
like
a little
was
nervous,
reading
little.
off a statement, and I was like,
Mhm.
this isn't great. Like I mean, it's fine, right? It is what it
It was
is.
better once you get to like actually responding
Yeah,
rather than like
he
reading
was a little
a weird statement.
monotone, and
Hmm.
then the Bill Cosgrove's phone going off like was exactly what that moment needed
Perfect.
to kind of
It
cut
was
the
perfect.
tension a little
Yeah.
bit, get some laughs because
Hmm.
everyone was just I don't know what they were waiting for. They weren't going to announce a new stadium that they're going to break ground on in a
They
couple
were going to
months.
announce that they were tampering with Kyle Tucker right
Yeah,
now and be
Kyle
like, we're
Tucker's
going to offer Kyle
already
Tucker
agreed to sign.
currently in the fourth inning of the game against the Brewers. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So,
It was good. It was funny. And
do
there was
you have any
multiple
other
references to
Yeah,
it.
any other takeaways from the press conference? I want to wrap up with some cover, talking a little playoff baseball.
Yeah, I think just overall, Luke had a good comment that is interesting in the chat about like the different backgrounds of the three primaries.
Mm,
Right, you have
definitely.
a developer in Patrick Zalupski. You have the banker mortgage guy in or Bill Cosgrove, and then you have the like fan, like he was a ball boy. He has been around minor league baseball, which is all fan centric, right? Like that is
Yeah,
people go to that as like it is the most fan friendly of all baseball. I think is minor league baseball because you're so close. There's wacky like thing. It's just it's purest form of it. And so I think that is an interesting background for at least these three guys for this team at this time. I agree though with you, Brett. Like we need to see it actual. Like the actions speak louder than words. But I think Luke makes a good point there with it. Like this is a three interesting backgrounds for these guys to fit exactly what the Rays need at this current moment. Is you need somebody to win back fan trust. You need the people that know how to like get money and
hmm
secure like I mean this is the big thing is going to be fan trust, business community trust, like sponsorships, uh like if you're going to build a new stadium you're going to need box seats, you're going to need the local community to spend that like money,
yeah,
and you're going to need to have people that have worked in this field. So it is encouraging. I would say that.
right. In I don't know. None of my comments here were meant to be like poo poo whatever that was said in the press conference. I am optimistic. It is a change. I think it was time for a change.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. The only other thing that was said that I enjoyed, it was a softball question. It was a softball thing to say, but was that their goal is to be stewards of the organization in ways that in similar ways and in new ways compared to the old regime. And Sternberg's legacy, we talked a lot about that on our last show, and as much of a failure the stadium thing was, I
Mhm.
did think they were good stewards of the organization when it came to the on-field product.
Yes.
And I really appreciated the new group using stewardship. I thought that was a really good term to kind of
Yes.
encapsulate the message that they were trying to get across. So, got a couple minutes left. I want to talk about some playoff baseball. First off, you've got your Seattle shirt on.
I
Game
do.
five starting in a little over an hour. Uh, the Mariners had a few days off getting that first round bye, but are in a decisive game five right now against Tarek Skubal, who they've had no
Again,
problem beating
yeah.
this
Just have
season.
to do it. Just have to do it a fourth time and a second
Yeah.
time in a week.
So I
No
don't know
big
how you
deal.
feeling about Game Five. I mean, by the time if you're listening to this podcast, you might know the result from
You'll
Game
know.
Five. But if those who are watching live, Darby, what's your take on Game Five before they get started here in a couple hours?
I think it's going to be good. The series has been very close. Both teams I think have been like very well matched. The one thing I will say is that no matter what, I'm obviously rooting for Randy and Rayleigh and the Mariners to advance, but I am so happy that it'll be over after today, no matter what. And the thing that'll be over is that I'm so sick of hearing AJ Pierzynski on my television. And Adam Wainwright just talking inside. Like the AJ Pierzynski doesn't stop talking.
Yeah, no. I
It's
think Wainwright's not bad.
He's not bad. He would be much better separated out from
Yeah,
Pierzynski.
I agree.
And the whole series just be like they I know they've needed a hitter, but like the I've been baffled by like the utter unbelievable showering of praise on Kerry Carpenter to the point where they have like like almost the Otani like looming
At
like
bats away.
graphics, which is like I had to look it up. I had to be like, did I miss like this monster season from Kerry Carpenter?
You
And I
didn't.
didn't. He's fine. He's a good player. He's a well above average corner outfield bat. Not a great defender, but a really good bat. But I was like, did I miss like a 5-win season out of nowhere from Kerry Carpenter? But no, it's been a good series. I'm hoping for another good game. I hope that George Kirby, who's going to take the mound, can deliver another good game and
Yeah.
they can beat Scooble again. Like I think I would like to see the Jays, which we'll talk about next, and the Mariners have a weird rivalry that I don't know if anybody outside of Toronto or the Northwest knows about, but like Seattle
Yeah.
fans are some of the nicest fans. They get along with everybody. You can wear any jersey there except for 2 jerseys. Astros, which that's like kind of a universal,
Right.
and Blue Jays.
Really?
Blue
I did not
Jays,
know that. I don't think
they travel, they pack the stadium and are like
they come
there
down from Vancouver.
hatred. Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolute like total uh like there is a like I've never and it also seems so weird that it's like Canadians and like Washingtonians, which is just that you're not expecting, but it's just like a blood feud. And I'm always baffled by it. But like you just straight up, they're just like, get out of this town. Go back to your poutine munching Timbit eating selves. And like
Yeah.
it's wild stuff. So I think that would be a
That would be a
very
lot of fun.
fun series. A
I think
very
that would be fun.
aggressive series.
Yeah.
Plus, you got like Springer, so an Astro to hate.
The Blue Jays, who I wasn't, I don't know. Part of me still isn't a Blue Jays believer.
I did not think their
Um,
pitching would hang up
right, me
this well.
neither. But I don't know. Their series win over the Yankees. I think it just goes to show that the way the Yankees are built. I'm sure it works well in the regular season. Um, it's cute what they have going on. It's not
Mm-hmm.
built to win in the postseason. Um, and it's even more clear that they're like Aaron Judge like Aaron Judge had a great series and they still weren't
He had
they
an
couldn't
amazing series.
they weren't good
Like
enough to win. I mean, the home run off the foul pole was
that's
was
insane.
was massive, great moment.
It's like
And
him and Otani are the only humans that could hit that ball for a home run.
yeah, and like I don't know, Trent Grisham disappeared and Max Fried had a bad
Stan,
game.
Stan in the postseason,
Stanton,
weirdly bad. Like he's always been a postseason like star. Volpe, horrific series.
right? Yeah,
11
Volpe.
Ks, booed off the field.
Volpe, like, and I thought at some point, like I know he was dealing with an injury. I mean, I kind of thought the Yankees were ready to just turn over shortstop to Jose Caballero, and maybe they should have.
Might have.
And I'm someone
Cabby
who
had a
like
pretty
believe
decent
like
series.
I like Volpe. I think he's a pretty decent player. I think he was hurt all year with that shoulder injury, and I will, if he needs to change of scenery, and the Rays might need a stopgap shortstop.
Hey, I wouldn't
Um,
mind that.
yeah, maybe there's something to be had there.
I did not expect the Jays to muscle the Yankees out as much as they did.
Yeah,
They absolutely were the much better team.
and it
Much
wouldn't
better
shock
team.
me if the guy who does the most out of all the remaining teams through the rest of this postseason is Vlad Guerrero Jr.
What a
He seems
series.
ready for the moment.
Yeah.
I could see him being, ALCS MVP, World Series MVP type of
Yep.
player moving forward for them.
I
And
we'll do predictions at the end, but
oh, okay,
I
yeah,
I I I'm I'm in Vlad Guerrero right now is the batter that you do not want to see up.
yeah,
In the entire postseason right now, he is the one batter. Like Judge as well. Like I think Judge was there. Now that Judge is out, it's Vlad. Like, and that's including Otani.
right. Well,
Like,
with Judge and Otani, you know that they're the best.
yeah,
So they're going like you're scared of them because they're the best.
They're
And
just a god.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. very good, like perennial all star type of hitter.
Hmm.
Is a tier below those very top
Totally.
players
Yeah.
in terms of offensive production. He seems the type that is playing up into that top tier right now
Absolutely.
because he is willing to just accept the pressure. He does not look bothered by it. Um, in I don't know. We could have the clutch debate. We're not going to do that on this podcast, but there is, I think, certain players that are more willing to accept the pressure in the
Hmm.
postseason and still perform under that pressure. And it's guys that are, supposedly faces their organization, and Guerrero is right there, and I don't know, just a ton of fun to watch. Um, the Phillies, man, that's
Oof.
what a terrible the first
Oof.
postseason series to end on an
On an
error,
error.
and it was a
Oof.
bad one, just
Rough.
really bad decision. I know that he's a reliever, he's juiced up, he knocks the ball down. I don't know. Some people are like, I feel so bad for. I don't feel bad for him. Like,
This is the game. This
it's
is
the
the
game. You
it's
didn't
your
make the
job.
right play. You
Yeah.
made an error, and it
I
happened in a
feel
bad moment. I hope
bad.
he doesn't get hate for it.
I
Like,
think that's the thing. I think the thing is I feel bad, but knowing he's a fit like Orion
yeah,
Perkering threw the ball
and he's a
away
pretty
at
good
home.
pitcher,
He's a very good reliever,
USF
right?
alum.
But like I think it's like you feel bad that like that this is the Phillies fans and like
Yeah,
the level of hate
I,
that like a
I
player can
I'm
get like
happy for
that. And
his sake that this
like
was
the
at Dodger
Buckner.
Stadium and not at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. It's a play that like as you're seeing it happen, I think there's only just like one reaction, which is just stun. You're just like, what? No,
No,
he's
my
throwing
jaw was on the
home.
floor. Like,
He's throwing home. What is happening?
because it wasn't
Yeah.
one of the, like, I watched it back and it's like, it was, some people were saying, well, I could see why he thought that. No, like, no,
He never looked at
the
first.
play is always to go to
Yeah.
first, especially
If
when you
you
knock it down, because
when
the
you
runner
knock it
on
down,
third
you have
has
to
a
get it.
has a head start. Like, you're
He's
not
been
going to
just
just the
running.
play.
Yeah, no, it's he didn't say he lost track. He made statements about like the speed of Pajes, and
I
he did speak to the media afterwards, which I thought was really good. I
That's
think
great. Yeah,
he almost certainly lost track of the outs.
you
Like or in
think
that
so?
moment, just I there's the only reason you're going home.
No, I mean, I think you if again, I'm not
Or you
defending the
or you
play because
had
it
in
was a
your
bad play.
mind that if the ball comes back to me, I'm going to take the shorter throw home.
I think you get flustered when you don't field the ball cleanly, and you wouldn't expect a pitcher to field the ball cleanly there. And I think he
No.
just made the wrong move. He just thought in that split
But
second going home
everybody,
was a
you
better
you
decision.
always throw first.
Uh,
Like it's the
Listen,
thing
I
you
agree. I'm
roll.
not
I
defending.
mean, it's a wild moment,
I
and
don't
it's
think he
like
forgot the outs though. I don't think he forgot the outs.
I don't know. I mean, it's like the only thing I could think of with like why you would
I
throw
don't
home.
think he was ready to field his position, and he made
It
a
was tough.
bad
It's tough because he
decision.
just came in too. He came into a extremely tough spot
Yeah,
out of the pen.
but them's the breaks in the
That's the
postseason.
breaks. No, it's tough. It's the worst possible way. Like the Dodgers won two in Philly, and the
And
Phillies
that's why he
scored
lost the
one run.
series. That's why he
Right,
lost the
like they
series.
scored one run,
Yeah.
and they didn't beat the Dodgers bullpen, which has been a disaster. Which has been
Hmm.
a utter disaster all season. They basically just reshaped their bullpen by putting starters in the pen
Yeah.
and just they're not using anybody besides Alex Vezia. It's Alex Vezia and just all of the starters that they have.
Right.
Um, and the Phillies scored one run and they lost two at home. That's why you lost the series. But of all the ways to lose, like I was expecting them to lose this series and even lose this game, especially when it went to extras. Did not expect it that way.
Yeah, me neither.
No, I don't think anybody expected it
And I
that
was
way.
hoping for a game five. I think game five back in Philly would have been a great game to
Yes.
watch. So
Yes. Yeah, no, that would have been great. We did get one game five. We get one more game five. We have the AL game five and an
Yep.
NL game five, which means that baseball is saved from seeding all of Saturday to college football. They are going to be playing baseball on a Saturday.
Yeah. No. So should we get to predictions then?
Oh yeah, the Cubs. The Cubs beat the Brewers is what happened.
Okay. So you've got Cubs over Brewers.
No,
and then,
sorry. That's what we didn't talk that Cubs beat the Brewers to force a game five.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know anything do you have to say about that game.
No, Kyle Tucker finally got a hit. He got a home run. He's had a pretty bad
Yeah.
series, but probably not enough to drop enough in payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got quick predictions for Game Five. So we have Brewers and
Hmm.
Cubs. I think the Brewers take it. I think this is just
Okay.
home field. Brewers have kind of like fallen a little bit back, but I think the Brewers take it.
Yeah. I'll go with the Brewers as well. What about tonight?
I'll go Mariners. Tigers, I don't believe in that offense at all.
No, it's going to be low scoring again. And even if Scooble throws 8 shutout, like I'm not convinced that they're going to win the game.
And he's on short rest. And I don't know. I feel it's going to be a close one. It's probably going to be like 3-2, like the most of
Yeah.
the series has been.
And whose bullpen do you trust more? I know the Mariners, their bullpen was better, and then it had a kind of a shaky game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I trust the top end of the Mariners bullpen more than the Tigers, but I think I like the depth of the Tiger. I mean, the
But
biggest thing of the
the
last
question is
game
how much.
was Troy Melton going.
Yeah,
Like they
and
just
how much
basically
depth will you need?
piggybacked.
Like with Scooble
Yeah,
throwing, even though he's
that's
on
true.
short rest, like they're going to ride him.
Kirby is also not going to go more than 2 times through the order. He's been a mess 3 times through the order, and it's what cost him game one was they let him play pitch against Kerry Carpenter, who is weirdly great against George Kirby, a third time through the order, and he hit the 2-run home run, and
Yeah.
that basically cost him that, which it's putting them on this series end. But I think this is going to be a really really close one. Could go either way, but I'll go Mariners.
Let's go rest of the way, and we can change these predictions if the field has changed the next time we
Exactly.
record. I'll say so. I don't. Did I get a pick on Detroit, Seattle?
Did you?
I'm gonna go Detroit. I'll
Okay.
uh, I'll go Detroit. Well, on the back of Scooble. But I'll take Toronto over Detroit. I think pretty easily. Um,
Yeah.
in the CS, and I'll just
I
go
I would I will
go you
say
you do your ALCS
I'll say Blue Jays over the Mariners.
over
I think
Seattle,
I think it's gonna be. I think the Blue Jays are playing at a unbelievable level.
and then I'll take
Um,
LA over Milwaukee, and then I'll take LA over Toronto.
I I I think LA over the Brewers and or the Cubs. Honestly, either way, I think LA is going to the World
Yeah.
Series.
Hmm.
Sadly, we're just gonna have that every year. But I actually am picking Blue Jays over the
All right.
Dodgers.
I
I
like that.
think the Dodgers bullpen is a big weakness. The Phillies did not get to it enough. I don't think the Blue Jays will have that same problem.
So the one thing, and this is Rays related, uh, that I'm really curious about, and Tyler Glass now looked really great in Game 4. Um, the Dodgers bullpen is so bad right now, just because they
Yeah.
don't know. None of the roles are carved out,
Mm.
and it seems they always give up runs in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Would you be better served to take Tyler Glass out of the fourth spot of your rotation and commit to him being a
Reliever.
one time through the order reliever to pitch late in games to help bridge the gap to the back? And then you kind of use, wherever. So you would use Game 4 of a 7-game series to put, Emmett Sheehan as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of bridge between Sheehan and maybe Kershaw if he's on the roster. But like if Sheehan gives you 4, and then you go to Vesia for the 5th, and then Dryer for the 6th, and then Glass now for the 7th and 8th, and then Sasaki for the 9th.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Sheehan's pitched really well in the pen, so it's really just a matter of which do you kind of prefer. I I think with it's interesting with Glass now because that was his best start ever in the postseason.
yeah,
He's had a
yeah.
kind of a
Glass now
rough.
not like a great postseason pitcher
He has
so
not
far
been that
when he's
great in the
healthy to pitch in the
postseason,
postseason, which isn't always.
which has also been like less. I think I think the thing right now, and I kind of trust Dave Roberts to know his guys the most.
Do you though?
That's a great. I think so.
I don't.
I'm
'Cause he
less
doesn't.
now.
He doesn't know who to pitch. What
He is struggling in his bullpen because
he's
he is
got a
using
number
guys
of
like Blake
guys
Trinan.
that are all
who's
should
terrible.
be really good and to some level are pretty good. But
Yeah.
there's not a single pitcher in that bullpen. And this is some of the like the way the Dodgers build their pitching staffs is like a
Hmm.
bunch of high risk guys, but we're just gonna have like 30
Something will shake
dudes through
out.
the season that would all be top pitchers in any other pitching staff, and then we'll piece it together. I don't think Dave Roberts has any idea what's going to work when he goes out
Well,
there.
I think that's true. I think what I'm sort of saying with Dave Roberts is I think he knows his guy like personally is like Emmett Sheehan and Tyler Glasnow comfort level when it
Yeah.
comes to this. And I think if there is any doubt, I think you just leave one and the other. But I would not be a I would not be opposed because right now their rotation is Snell, Yamamoto, and Otani, and then there's also Glass now.
And there's also the thing
So
that Otani like really does not pitch on short rest.
yeah. And so do you go with Emmett Sheehan for one game? See, the thing is, in a 7 game series, I kind of would rather have Tyler Glass now more games. Right? Emmett
Sure.
Sheehan, you have one game. So like Snell and Yamamoto, you
And
ride
Glass now
for as
could be
long as
lined
you
up for game
can.
one if that's the way you wanted to do it.
No, I meant like you use him in the pen
Oh,
and
oh,
you
yeah,
get him to
I
you get
agree.
to use him more games.
No, that's what I'm
Whereas
saying.
yeah, like Snell, Yamamoto, and Otani, you have your set. Sheehan's your game 4 starter, whatever. Like you
So if
use
you
it
let's
like
say you
he gets
have in a
through,
7 game
you
series, you have
steal it.
7 innings of Glass now.
Yeah.
Would you
Do you
want
use them
that
in one?
in one game where he might not throw all seven, or in 3 games, or in four
Yeah,
games?
so if you line it up, I would want Yamamoto and Snell 1 and 2 so that they can also go games 6 and 7.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess 5 you could potentially push it, but then you have Otani 3, maybe Otani 2, Yamamoto 3, and then that way Snell could go 4, 5. You could almost go with just 3, but yeah, I like the idea of like Sheehan for at number 4,
Because
and that
Otani,
way
even in a 7 game series, has one start and then would probably be available out of the
as the
bullpen in a
pen,
late
yeah.
game.
So yeah, so 7 game series, you want 2 times out of Snell, 2 times out of Yamamoto. So that's 4. So you need 3 more games. Otani's 1. That's 2 more games. Can you get 2 starts out of Glass now? I guess is the question. Because if you can get 2 starts out of Glass now, I would like that, and then just hope that. Oh, but man, that bullpen is really
But like,
rough.
could you get behind, like if it's behind a starter, like they did when he pitched behind Otani? Could you
Yeah,
get like 3 innings out of Glass now early
out of
in an early
out of
game,
Otani and like
and then
Sheehan, you
like
could
an
get both of
inning in
those.
game 4, and then like a potential game 7 start,
Yeah,
or
like and
another
like a
3 innings?
open. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like a game 7 open. Yeah, I kind of like.
And
I actually
Glasnow
kind of
should be
like that.
comfortable doing that too. Like game 5 of the
Yeah,
ALDS in 2020 against the Yankees,
exactly.
he had
Yep,
that open. He knew he was going one time through, and Kevin Cash. And this is the way that David Roberts and Kevin Cash, I think, like manage very similarly. Is like Kevin Cash went into that game 5 against the Yankees. No one's facing anybody more than once, and nobody
yep,
did.
yep.
Um,
He knew everybody that was going to throw. Maybe not in the same order, but like he
yeah,
knew like here's the guys. They're all going X number of innings. Let's go.
yeah. Like the Dodgers,
I
their
kind of
bullpen
like
is a
that.
mess, but they have enough guys where you're like, you're not
Would you
scared.
would you rather Tyler Glasnow come out 3 times in the pen than or Emmett Sheehan come out 3 times in the
Right.
pen?
That's the
And
yeah.
that's
That's the
the thing.
equation.
I'd rather because that's every inning in the World Series or in the NLCS is so big because like
So let's
that
say
inning
like
could cost you everything.
yeah,
That could
if it's
cost you the
game
series.
4 and you're up 3-0, which you're not
Oh yeah.
guaranteed to be, then you start Sheehan, right? And then
Yeah. And then
if
you
we
have
blow up the game, then we punt and Clayton Kershaw pitches the last 7 innings. And
yeah, yeah. Man, that bullpen. I just brought it up and it is shocking. You have Kershaw who is, he's retiring. He's on his
but they
last
did their
legs.
job last night. Like
Man,
they figured it
a
out
lot of
last night.
lefties. A lot of This is why the Blue Jays, all these lefties for Vlad Guerrero, and your righties are Roki Sasaki, great. Emmett Sheehan, okay. And Blake Trinan,
Jack
complete
Dreyer.
disaster. Completely broken. Dryer's lefty.
Dry
All
to
the rest are
lefty.
lefties. And so as a result of that, you have Vlad Guerrero has got like
Oh, he is.
he's going to face only besides Roki Sasaki and starters, he is
Yeah.
going to be facing a lot of lefties out of that pen. Like you're going to have Vezia get like Vlad Guerrero Jr. out as a lefty, and that's going to be tough. I I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This will be if Dave Roberts can somehow find a way, some combination of this pen to make it work, it'll be his best managerial effort. Because so far it's been a disaster. It won't be him. It won't be him though. This is how managerial efforts work. It'll just be sheer dumb luck.
I don't
But
know.
he will get the most credit on ESPN and MLB.
If you win a World Series, you deserve credit. But it's like we're debating whether or not to start Tyler Glass now as your
Did
fourth starter.
when
Like, come
when
on,
they
like
brought Roki Sasaki in to the pen, it's not like they're like, oh, we got something cooking here. It's more like, fuck it.
yeah.
Somebody's got to do something.
But it's also
and he's
like,
been
okay,
amazing.
we
But
know
like,
he had a rough season, but we know that he's great.
talent.
Like we know
Talent's
Glass
huge,
now is
yeah.
great. So it's a great managerial job of like putting together these great
Yeah, how do I?
pieces
Yeah,
that
it
maybe
is
you
very
should have had
funny.
it figured out before now.
It is rough. You're going into the season and your best reliever is your like failed rookie starter.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, and it's the only reliever you can really. It's that and Alex Vezia as the only two guys you can trust in your pen. And like
that is
Blake
the
Treinen,
Dodgers' plan, though. The Dodgers, we're gonna have a bunch of guys, and hopefully it gets figured out. And this
something
year they
shakes it.
just haven't yet, but they've still been good enough to get to this
They're
point.
building the plane in the postseason,
Yeah.
basically. So
All
we'll
right.
see.
Well,
Still the preeminent favorites. Still the
we've
preeminent
rambled for
favorites.
almost
All of
15
this.
minutes on Dodgers bullpen construction, and we could probably do another 30 more. But I think it's probably time we land our own plane here. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Raise Your Voice. Thank you guys for listening. We've been live on youtube.com/at Raise Your Voice. And of course, we're also still available wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to our channel. And you can turn on that notification bell so you can join us every time we go live, like our friend Luke does on most episodes and Legos. Love seeing you guys in the comment section every time we go live. If you love what we do here and you really want to say thank you, you can head on over to patreon.com/raise your voice and become a member for as little as $1 a month. As always, make sure to head on over to draysbay.com to check out all of that great Rays coverage. Once again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.